there, you are watching this video as you have received the Strong Bones STEAM Kit here from the Montana Science Center. My name is Sarah Snyder and I am here with the Science Center. I'm going to be helping you walk through each of the activities in your Strong Bones kit, just in case you had any questions or if you wanted to participate in the activities alongside of the video. So to begin, we are going to start with the first activity, all skin and bones. And so to begin, the materials that you'll be needing from your kit are the bowl of flour, your measuring cup. It's empty to begin with, so just add water from your tap up to this black line right here. Your bag with glue and salt, the spoon, 4 straws, and some scissors also that you provide at home. Before we begin this activity, if you would like to learn more about the different bones in the body, what they're called, where they're located, you can also feel free to take the human skeleton coloring page out of your kit as well, and you can color each of these bones different colors. They're labeled with numbers so you know which bone is which in your body. And there's a pack of crayons as well if you would like to begin with that, just as an intro. So I will set this aside so that we can get started with our first activity. We are going to be making our own salt Play-Doh. So to do this, I'm going to open the container of this flour. I'm going to be mixing it in this bowl, so you don't have to move anything. And you'll also be needing the glue and the salt and the water. So I'm going to take the glue and the salt out of this plastic bag. And actually, we won't be needing the glue for this activity, so I'm going to set the glue aside. We'll just be needing that salt. All right, so what I'm going to do next is add the water to the flour. Give it a good stir. Should start to look like dough pretty quickly. And I'm also going to add the salt. Okay, so we're gonna start with our person. We're gonna make a head for our person. And we're gonna make a neck and a torso and some arms and some legs. And we're gonna first try this activity or experiment without bones, so without the straws. And we're going to see how well the person is supported without the straws or without the bones. So I'll try to build it up as well. So as you can see already, the head is not very well supported in this person. So before I add any more arms or legs or body parts to our person, I'm going to start by using the scissors to cut some pieces of the straw. And what I'm going to do to add some support, just like our bones help to support our body, I'm going to put the straw in the torso, put the neck around the straw, and we're going to see if this helps to support our person. All right, so as you can see, the head of our Play-Doh person, which is kind of goopy, doesn't look like a real person, is already being supported, and the arms are being supported. So just as a comparison, I'll do another one without the straws and see if I can get any arms to stay. So we'll pretend this little lump is the torso, that as maybe the neck, and then we'll do a head. And we'll just do a quick comparison so you can see how important our bones are for the structure of our bodies. Oh, so already the head is not very well supported as this one, which is pretty sturdy. I could carefully pick it up and move it too. Unlike this one, if I tried to move, it would just slump right over. So, I would probably not have much luck adding legs or arms to the skeleton without bones. So like I said, feel free to use whatever size straws you want for this activity. This person I was able to move around. Looks kind of like a snowman person, but as we can see, it's held its structure much better than the Play-Doh without any support. And there you have it. All right, for our second activity, after a brief hand wash, I am back. We are going to now do the bone deep activity, which this activity is meant to explore the different layers of our bone. So when we think about bones, we often don't think about all of the different layers that comprise our bones. And this will show a visual of those different bones using other objects to represent them. So for this activity, you'll be needing this little bag that has red and blue thread inside of it. All you need from the bag at this point in time for this activity is the red and blue embroidery thread. So I'm just going to quickly get them out of the bag, as these are the only materials out of this bag that I need right now. You'll also be needing glue in your 2-ounce container from the inside of the plastic bag from activity 1, the PVC pipe, yellow sponge, yellow crepe paper, your red straw, and your paintbrush. You'll also need to provide some scissors from at home. Okay, so to begin this activity, we are going to cut the red and blue embroidery thread into just different small pieces. So these represent the arteries and blood vessels within your bone. Okay, so what we are going to do next is we're going to take a couple of the pieces. We don't want to use all of the pieces of thread quite yet because we will be needing them for the final layer. So I'm going to take 2 pieces of each color, so 2 of blue, 2 of red. Like I said, these represent the arteries and the veins. I'm going to place them inside the red straw. This red straw is representative of your red bone marrow. So I'm just going to carefully fit them into the straw. Next, we have our yellow tissue paper, which is going to represent our yellow bone marrow. And I'm just gonna delicately wrap this around the straw. Next, I'm going to take the yellow sponge, which represents the spongy bone, and we are going to eventually fit the yellow sponge into the white PVC pipe, which represents our compact bone. So I'm also just going to use my scissors and cut this straw just a little bit shorter so that it fits within the length of the PVC pipe. We want them to be roughly the same length, so just like about that. And I'm going to wrap this way. It might help if you get the straw or the sponge slightly damp. I'll try it without dampening it first though. A little tough, but. All right, so we have our compact bone, our spongy bone, our yellow bone marrow, our red bone bone marrow, and inside our red bone marrow, the arteries and veins. Finally, what we are going to do on the outside of our compact bone, we are going to apply a thin layer of glue. This thin layer of glue is representative of the periosteum, which is a protective layer that coats our bones. So I'm just going to paint on a thin layer, and on top of the periosteum, we do have a couple more outer blood vessels that you can glue on. So those remaining pieces of red and blue thread will go directly on top of this layer of glue. And feel free to use glue around the entirety of the PVC, or you have a compact bone, to paint on that layer of periosteum. And there you have it. That is the layers of your bone. All right, for our third activity, we are going to be working through the My Hands Are Tied activity. So for this third activity, what you'll be needing is the tape, the hand template that was rolled up and rubber banded in the bottom of your box, some scissors from at home, your bag of straws. You'll notice that they're different sizes and cut to different lengths. That's perfect, that's exactly what we want. And the ribbon rather. So to begin this activity, we are going to cut out the hand in this template, just around the perimeter of the template. All right, so I'm going to set this extra paper aside and recycle it. And now we just have our template as such. It's still a little folded from being in the box, so I've just set the tape and the scissors at the top and the bottom just to act as some weights in the meantime. I'm going to open up my bag of straws, and I'm going to just pour out all of the straws onto my tray so I know what I'm working with here. I'm going to set that bag aside. Okay, so you'll notice that we have one large smoothie straw. We'll need this one last, so I'm not going to worry about that right now. And then we'll have some longer pieces of straws and a few shorter pieces of straws. So we should have 3 shorter and 11 longer. So I'm just gonna double check. I see 3 shorter right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Perfect. We have 5 pieces of ribbon for the 5 fingers in our hand, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to, using my longer pieces of straws, so I'm going to set my 3 shorter straws over to the side of my tray just so I don't get confused. I'm going to use the ribbon to weave through 3 straws at a time. So these 3 straws are just going to be representative of the bones in one finger. So I'm going to weave the ribbon through the straws, and then I'm going to push the straws to the middle of the ribbon just so that they don't fall through. All right, so this is what it's going to look like. I'm going to repeat this process for 4 more fingers. All right, so when we are finished, we should have 3 pieces of ribbon with 3 larger pieces of straws. These are going to be for our index, middle, and ring fingers. We're gonna have 1 ribbon with 2 larger pieces of straws. This is going to be for our thumb. And for our last ribbon, we are going to weave through the small pieces of straw. This is gonna be for our pinky. I'm gonna start with our index finger, so I'm going to use one of the pieces of 3 long straws, so not the thumb, which has 2 pieces, and not the pinky, which has the small pieces. So I'm going to use 1 piece. It doesn't matter which ribbon, as long as it has 3 pieces of longer straw. And what I'm going to do is scoot this first piece. We want 1 straw to fit within this first, almost looks like a box, very top part of our finger. So I want it to be just about like that. And then I'm going to use my roll of tape and begin taping. So I'm going to start first by taking one piece of tape and taping the straw across directly onto this segment. I'm also going to take one piece of tape and tape the ribbon on the opposite end, the back end of our finger. And I'm going to repeat this process for the other sections as well. Make sure they're spaced apart a little bit, just because otherwise our mechanical hand or robotic hand is not going to bend. So we don't want the straws to be touching when they are taped down. All right, so that's what my first one looks like. You're gonna have a little extra string down here. I'm just gonna let that hang for now, and I'm going to repeat the process for next. I'm going to do the middle finger. Okay, next I'm going to do the pinky. So remember, the pinky is the straw that has, or rather the pinky has the ribbon with 3 small pieces of straw, the smallest 3 pieces of straw. Okay, now that all of these are done, we should have 5 pieces of ribbon at the bottom for the 5 fingers that are just, for now, not quite doing anything. It's important to remember that when you tape the straw to the fingers, we don't want any of the fingers taped together, so make sure that they are still free-form and not attached or taped together. What we are going to do is, now using our smoothie straw, we are going to take all 5 pieces of ribbon and thread them through the smoothie straw piece. All right, so now to use our robotic hand and to see how the bones in our fingers are manipulated, you can, at the very bottom underneath your smoothie straw slider here, you can pull, and I'll try to get this as flat as I can. The paper is still a little folded from being in the box. So as you can see, when I pull the string or the ribbon of one finger, like I'm pulling on the ribbon for my middle finger, my middle finger will bend. Let's try a different ribbon now. Here's pulling on the ribbon of the middle finger, so you can see how that bends forward. All right, for our 4th and final activity, we are going to be walking through the steps of activity 4, a bone to pick. So for this activity, you will be needing your owl pellet, which is encased in this tinfoil wrap, 3 toothpicks and tweezers, which are within the bag, 1 magnifier, which is also within a bag, your bone identification sheet, which looks like this on one side and this on the other side, as well as this paper tray. So what we're going to do first is we're just going to unwrap the owl pellet, and we will wash our hands when we are concluded with this activity. So as you're touching this, just remember, it's probably important not to, it's probably a good idea not to touch your face or your mouth. So the pellet is on my plate. I'm going to also just open up the tweezers and toothpicks, and I'm going to use this to just gently pick apart the pellet. The tweezers have this protective pink little heart-shaped thing. I'm just going to take that off. That just ensures that they're closed. So I'm going to hold, I like to hold the pellet with my index finger or pointer finger and a thumb, and then just pick apart at it, maybe gently with the tweezers to start, or you can start with the toothpicks. You want to be gentle with this as there are bones in the pellet and you don't want to break the bones before you unpack them. Oh, here's one right now. So within the pellet you'll see the fur or hair of different animals that the owl has ingested, as well as the bones. And so for the bone that I just found, I can use the tweezers and bring it over to the bone identification chart. So for example, this bone obviously doesn't match the scapula or a shoulder blade bone, but it does match more of a shape of a humerus, so like the upper front leg, or maybe a radius or a lower front leg. So I'm just going to place it on top of a bone that it appears to look like. If you're wrong, that's absolutely okay. All right, ooh, this is a good one. All right, so this bone fragment looks like it has some teeth in it. So my guess is that would be some part of the skull or the mandible of, it looks like it has two sharper teeth right up here. So my guess is that would be probably from a vole. In these columns up top, it will tell you what type of animal has bones within that shape. So owls have a few common prey that they prey upon, such as rats, voles, mice, shrew, moles, birds, etc. That will help you just further classify the bones that you find within your pellet. As you continue to pick through your owl pellet, you can also use the magnifier that's within this little bag as well, just to further examine the bones that you've picked out of the pellet and sort them into whichever row and column you feel they best belong. So at the very end of this activity, please wash your hands, as I said, and that concludes our Strong Bones STEAM Kit. On the very back page of your booklet, there's information for our social media accounts. Feel free to share your progress and your activities with us on our Facebook and our Instagram. You can use the hashtags that we've suggested as well, and look for us at these handles. All right, bye everybody.